on day one
we
came in only at
calling it
18%.
Hyundai
I
or
think
Hyundai.
we are, Neeraj. That's what Tarun Garg said yesterday. We're going with it now.
Okay, fine. So let's
So,
go.
but it's a big one. Subscription on day one, though, was a little underwhelming, I would say. Of course, in absolute terms, the number is still huge, but in percentage terms, 18% day one. The good thing is 225 anchor investors. That's very, very solid marquee,
But that's
global
now,
and local names.
I think it's now 33%, if as we speak.
So we've done about 20% already in the first few hours this
Yes,
morning.
yes.
So, and you had some very big names, Sajid, that came in on the anchor book. 225 guys, Singapore government, domestic fund houses. Everyone is lapping this one up.
That's because you have a auto company coming after more than 2 decades, right? So that's one of the reasons.
No, please continue. I just want
So,
to hear you.
yeah, so that's one of the reasons why you're seeing a lot of institutional interest which is there, and it's a long-term play which is there, which is it's also expanding your entire basket of auto exposure to Indian companies. Uh, of course, 27,000 crores is a big one, and that requires a lot of appetite. And you're looking at retail as one of the key investors, because 35% of the issue is for the retail, which is more than 9,000 crores for
9,000 crores of retail money.
which is
तो करने का क्या?
करने का, अगर लॉन्ग टर्म के लिए रखने का तो सब्सक्राइब करने का.
So subscribe करने का. Okay. Now, okay, this is an interesting one. So I'll just take this mic for a minute. And I don't know what you guys think about this. So when this IPO came in, a lot of people said a mega IPO may not get subscribed the way some of the mid caps and small caps.
Obviously not, right? It's 1/10 the size.
1/10 the size. So therefore the listing gains need not necessarily be that large. Then I was asking Sameer Arora about this in an interview, that Sameer, there's a big IPO that is coming up. Would you go out and
Subscribe.
and what's your view per se? So he said that to my mind, auto is the most blind shot in this world currently in the world. He's saying that look at what's happening across the auto sphere, and there is no chance that an auto company can really create too much of wealth. So that is Sameer Arora's view. There are auto bulls as well, because there's auto funds which are currently going on as well. So that was one view. And if we look around, I think the question in the minds of the investor will be only one, that one, can auto really as a sector really make returns, because a company can't outdo the sector too much, right? And at that point of time when BMW, Mercedes, etc. all have cut guidance, can an auto company really do well?
But I think no, need.
Yesterday.
Huh?
Siam is correct. Morgan Stanley's also said the first half
saying
is
that,
tough.
between 5 to 8%, they brought it down to sub 5% for the entire passenger car vehicle.
But I think Sajid and Neeraj, while the likes of a BMW are cutting guidance, let's not forget that India is a rural story. There's that aspirational living that is happening. And I'm not saying aspiration at the high level, right?
Yeah.
You still want to go out and, I mean, people in small towns and villages still aspire to own one car, buy a home. Those are down the list of aspirations.
Story point of view.
No.
One point I wanted to highlight on this rural story, because compact SUV as a segment is becoming a new
आप
thing.
mic पकड़ लो.
6 lakh, the 6 lakh, 7 lakh cars are now becoming a thing, and Hyundai is a market leader in that. They have an Exter, they have a Venue, and very interesting. We spoke to the JP Morgan auto analyst, and what he said was that people are not looking for buying entry levels now because there are no new model launches. So either they are going for used cars, or they are looking to wait it out for 6 or 7 months and buy a compact SUV of someone like a Exter, for someone like a Venue.
I mean, look at us.
So that's
all,
a big segment.
All of us own cars, right?
Yeah.
And that's the fact of life. But I think one thing, Puneet, which you and me discussed extensively yesterday is that sure, this is a play on the auto sector, and surprisingly, Sajid, we are seeing auto stocks selling today.
Yeah.
Now, whether it's part of the basket, sell the Maruti, M&M, and go out and buy the Hyundai IPO, it could be one argument, was what we were discussing on valuations. See,
yeah.
a lot of the new listings that come into the market, if they're at a deep discount, get very well subscribed, right? Yeah. But in a case like this, it's in line with valuation of a listed player like Maruti.
Yeah.
It's at a deep discount to M&M, but the outlook on M&M is exponentially better than what Hyundai is, right?
With the premium launches of M&M.
And I think another worry in Hyundai is they've lost a little bit of market share in the last 2 years. So I don't know now, is that a concern? Is that not? You want to elaborate, Puneet?
So just a couple of, so yeah, market share has been constant, and now they are trying to gain a little bit market share, because Mahindra had extremely a lot of launches, 3X, so the Thar being one of them. For Tata Motors also another thing, they had a lot of launches, but this year it's not expected to have so many launches for both these players. So that's one. But on valuation, as you rightly said, it's a big issue.
Yeah.
And it's a completely offer for sale. But just wanted to ally a couple of concerns. A complete offer for sale is not too much of a big of a problem.
It's
While
not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing because the company is generating 8,500 crores of cash. They had that last year for FY24. And the last 3 years, they've generated about 20,000 crores of cash. So that's the numbers that these guys have put out. So while there were some talks that are OFS,
Because that's what you'd imagine, right? Everyone's
they don't
saying,
need
"Oh,
the fresh
पैसा
issue specifically.
Indian retailer से release करेंगे और
And
कोरिया लेके जाएंगे.
लेके
But
जाएंगे.
I think product development at the parent company will have to trickle down to India. आज ने तो कल तो होगा ही होगा.
That is true. वो होने वाला है और
Yeah.
मारुति भी ऐसे शुरू हुआ था.
Yeah.
सिंपल सी बात.
और ये तो 26 साल से बैठ के हम रिटेल इन्वेस्टर को स्टोरी में पार्ट
No, in fact, so the counter argument to that is, if you just look at the US markets and what they did in the 80s and the 90s, promoter owned businesses sold shares. Those companies got a larger representation in the public markets. That's how the US market is materially different from India because it's not a promoter held
company.
company's market, right? I mean, it's a natural evolution. We should actually be thanking large IPOs because they're absorbing the liquidity that Indian retailers are putting in,
Otherwise,
right?
we've been to a real bubble.
Real bubble.
Also, one quick one which you and me discussed this morning, Kotak MNC fund.
Yeah.
So this whole idea of MNCs listing, seeing appetite is another indication that subscription, yes or no, long term 100% in is what we all I think believe. But is a story that you would bet on. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, Samir
So
Arora
the-
is-
the-
Indian company subsidiaries of foreign multinationals get a higher valuation than the parent.
That's the other
That's
thing.
the other.
Usually that happens too.
Yeah.
Now, the point out here is that what are the options for somebody? So one, the question number one is, क्या आपको ऑटो में इन्वेस्ट करना है कि नहीं करना है, right? And the answer is divided. Some people are
For
saying
the
you
long
want to.
term, yes or no? What is the bias? Do we have a bias view? Forget the next 6 months because we are still trying to assess whether demand is going to recover.
See, I think autos per se for the long term is a definitive yes.
You can't
Everybody
ignore
wants a
the
car
space,
and bike.
right?
So what
Yeah.
तो है?
21 times FY25 earnings.
Yeah, Sajid, valuation.
नहीं valuation secondary.
It's
First,
it's an attractive valuation.
no wait.
Fair. For
No
a change, something
So
is attractive
question
in this
no
market.
first question number one. Autos yes or no? So long term
long
autos
term
yes.
autos, yes.
Short term there is a problem,
Yeah.
right? Chalo, let's assume that is the thing. So
Yeah.
now within that short term,
Yeah.
so therefore if you assume that chalo short term you want to buy into auto because you are buying for the long term,
Yeah.
the question is it Hyundai or Hyundai
Yeah.
or are there others? Now HSBC I think yesterday came out with a note saying that we like Maruti because
Despite
Maruti
Navaratri
valuations, but Maruti valuations are undemanding.
Yeah, at 28 times price to
But
earnings.
that's what Hyundai also is.
And interestingly, because Maruti is at 28 according to HSBC, and Hyundai is coming at 26 times
Yeah,
price to
so
earnings.
much So-
And in par, and what's important is the SUV share. So Hyundai's SUV is 68% of all cars sold. Maruti is at 28.
Wow.
Because they sell a lot of Balenos, they sell a lot of smaller cars, and that is one thing. Because if
So
you
then
want
Hyundai
the-
is actually present in the market which Indians are buying
Exactly.
currently.
And the compact SUV which we spoke about, that's another big thing because that sells roughly 1/6 of the total.
So net, it's
of the total in my
better
space.
price than Maruti and
So
better value
just
to
like
better
26, 28 times you can go on if you for 1 or 2
So
times,
that's a positive.
Samina,
but that's another thing.
While
Yes.
fundamentally we all agree कि ये
Long-term
Hyundai
story है.
long term story
Long-term story है.
बट ये IPO में अरिथमेटिक देखना चाहिए सिंपल बात 27,000 और 28,000 करोड़ का IPO में 37.5% has to be no FIs
FIs.
12.5% म्यूचुअल फंड
Mutual fund. Yeah.
35% रिटेल फिर 15% जो है वो HNIs है उसमें स्मॉल HNIs and big HNIs which is 2 to 10 and 10 and above simple as that as we speak रिटेल सेगमेंट में 11 लाख एप्लीकेशंस आ चुके हैं ऑलरेडी आ गए हैं और 33% ही सब्सक्राइब 130
So you think the
सब्सक्राइब
conversation should be listing day पे खरीदना चाहिए कि नहीं खरीदना चाहिए?
Yeah.
वो तो है ही बट इसमें HNI को कैसे प्ले करना चाहिए
Yeah.
अगर HNI फुल्ली सब्सक्राइब हो जाता है तो small HNI should apply in the retail category and take the entire lot
That's
of 2
a
lakhs.
good idea. So it looks like a good long-term play. We aren't expecting too much
Yeah.
listing gains.
Yeah.
Only because it's well priced and the market environment is not as euphoric. Of course, having said
Overall
that,
as well.
Garuda Construction do quite well yesterday, despite the fact that the grey market premium wasn't indicating so. So I think to sum this up, sum this up. Should we start wrapping this up?
final
crossover
comments.
Yeah,
times.
no, so there are, wait a minute. So some queries that have come in, right? One of
Yeah.
the queries is, now viewers, please understand, we can't technically give you stock recommendations. So one of the queries is Hyundai or M&M or Bajaj. Which one would you pick? Now, without us giving recommendations, what's the consensus brokerage view on M&M? Hyundai ka to now it will come, but what's the consensus view on M&M?
So M&M is a big buy for most
Yeah.
brokerages.
Even if it's expensive?
Even if it's expensive, because 85% of all brokerage calls, all analysts that track have a buy rating on M&M, and that's because the premium play that they do, the 3XO, has been doing well around the 7 to 9 lakh price range. So that's a clear buy for most. While everyone's seeing value, like Citi and HSBC see value in Maruti, some don't, some prefer the likes of Tata Motors as well. But now Tata has its
I
own
think
concerns as well because of,
Query was also on Bajaj.
Did you say
Bajaj.
Tata? Because that's one more question
Yeah,
that is
because-
coming.
But
Yeah.
just before we go to Tata, what about Bajaj?
Bajaj Auto,
versus
I think
Hyundai?
it's a little different because the
compare the
two-wheeler
space.
comparison,
Okay,
but
so
both Bajaj and TVS have been growing exponentially well in the two-wheeler space. So while you want, that's all a higher volume game and the premium play, it's different. But for car makers specifically, a lot of preference is M&M.
M&M.
And now with Hyundai coming in, if someone wants a higher, you want to play in the higher SUV share, and you're comparing it to Maruti, that's going to be a very interesting choice. And we made a big comparison on
And
Maruti
that's,
and
we stop and move on to the next question very quickly.
Yeah, are there some more questions? So here's the one, right? What is the conflict of interest in ownership of Kia India and Hyundai India by Hyundai Corporation? Is it good? It's good for Hyundai Corp, but not
So
Hyundai
this
India
was a lot of
shareholders?
brokerages had raised this as a concern, but I don't think in reality there's too much of a conflict from what I understand.
Because Kia is held by Hyundai
Yes.
Corporation,
Yeah.
and both are
separate
into
from-
both are separate,
Yeah.
except for the fact that Hyundai makes engines and they supply to
Yeah,
Kia.
so there is no
That's the
real
only
party. There's a
related
couple
party
of
which is
smaller
there.
IPO trackers have raised this, but
Yeah.
apart from that.
Yeah, but the point is that at some point in time there will be consolidation that may happen in this market because they're not doing.
That's separate. For
That's
now,
separate.
it's not a corporate governance issue
No,
for
it's not.
Hyundai India
It's
shareholders.
not. It's not. It's
because it also operates in other markets like US as well and Australia as well, where Kia is big, and so is Hyundai. So not
And
so much of a concern.
Also look at from a point of view of EV market, right? You have Tata Motors which is there, and after Tata Motors, Hyundai is the only player which has a good formidable collection of EVs coming in or already in the market. Maruti is going to come in next year. Mahindra's Born Electric will come
January,
in next
yeah.
January. It
Just
will come
one
in
more
next year.
quick question.
Jitesh, we are wrapping up unless you tell us what you
On
want to tell us.
listing days, Sajid, on listing days, is there a good chance of investors not being able to make money on the day?
There is a good chance.
There is a good chance.
Always a good
But
chance.
hold on.
Yeah,
I think what we are saying is hold on, don't panic. If you don't get a subscription to the IPO, maybe on listing day,
There is a subscription on IPO. That's what I'm trying to say.
yeah, you will get a subscription on the IPO, but just stay patient. Just ride it out. This is a good
For
stock.
Tata Motors is one. There is a
to
demerger
own.
coming next year of the passenger vehicle and commercial vehicle. So that's going to be a story for next year. But for Hyundai currently, if you
Consensus
are
buy is what we
consensus
have.
buy for
For the
most.
long term.
Yeah.
For the
Yeah,
disclaimer.
yeah. So, I mean, that's the point. But, this is the real formation of the Indian four-wheeler space.
Yeah.
All large, major four-wheeler
Yeah.
companies now
Top
listed.
four now listed,
After
yeah.
Hyundai, which is a
Yeah.
great thing. And by the way, viewers, remember that the total coverage on the Hyundai IPO all through. Sajid has done IPO, Samina has done this wonderful piece on what the IPO might mean for you. Puneet is giving regular coverage. And that continues tomorrow on day 3 as well as the Hyundai IPO comes to a close. But frankly, after having seen this, maybe you don't need to see anything else. So I hope we've answered
But you
some
can
of your
still stay
questions.
tuned in.
Stay tuned to NDTV Profit. Yes, indeed. But thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
Hello.